Heads up, we have a special edition of Fantasy Football Pregame on Saturday, December 23rd, live from 1 to 3. Barry, Jay, and Lawrence will be previewing the Christmas weekend slate, leading into Football Night in America, followed by 2 NFL games. Tweet us, as always, using the hashtag FFPregame.
This is going to be interesting, by the way. So I'm on both Fantasy Football Pregame at 1:30 and Football Night in America at 3 o'clock. I wonder if I have to wear my suit on Fantasy Football Pregame, because I'm going to have to literally get off set. I'm not going to have time to redo my makeup or anything like that. Get off set and run all the way. It's actually next door that way, but Football Night, it's over there.
About 15 feet.
It's like 15 feet, but still, we get off the air and they're on the air, and right, usually my segment.
Well, me and Lawrence will go the other way there, where we'll dress as casual as humanly possible to really maximize.
Shorts and
flip-flops.
Flip-flops.
Yeah. I'll wear my Russell Wilson hoodie. Yeah, it'd be great.
All right.
I don't know. I'm going to have to figure that out.
Sounds like you're going to be
I don't dress quickly.
Weekend warrior.
I might have to be a weekend warrior.
And we'll get into the weekend warrior, starting with Jared Goff here, Matthew. 5 touchdowns through the air. Sam Laporta catches 3 of them.
Yeah, you're welcome, America. You're welcome. Now, you're like, what do you do, Barry? I'll tell you what I did.
What are they welcome for?
Because I put Jared Goff on the hate list.
Oh.
And that motivated him, clearly, to have his best performance of the year. So he'd been bad.
Yeah,
the offensive line was banged up. And Denver had played really good defense recently. It all lined up for me to motivate secretly Jared Goff, who I have a number of leagues, to have an unbelievable game as well. It's his second career game with 5 or more touchdown passes, but his first with Detroit. In their previous 6 games, Denver had allowed just 4 touchdown passes. 4 touchdown passes total in their 6 games. One of the stats that I used to make my case against Jared Goff in the hate list, but secretly, I knew that Jared Goff would read that and respond. So yes, you're welcome, America. You're welcome.
Sam Laporta, a huge beneficiary of those 5 touchdowns.
Huge.
5 catches, 56 yards, 3 touchdowns. As you see, Sam Laporta, the Week 15 fantasy leader at tight end. Him, David Njoku, monster weekends here.
Right, and you see 2 rookies up there. I mean, him and Trey McBride are 1 and 3. Sam La League winner, really impressive. Already top 3 in receptions and touchdowns in a season by a rookie tight end. His 3rd game this year with 20 or more fantasy points. His 5th game with 15 or more fantasy points. He has been a league winner. Here's what's great about Jared Goff. We talked about this. We did talk about this in the preseason, which is one of the reasons why we liked Amon-Ra St. Brown as my ride or die, and we like Jared Goff as a sleeper, is because of his playoff schedule. At home this past week. Now he goes to at Minnesota. Then he's at Dallas, and then he's home to Minnesota if you play in Week 18. He has nothing but dome games the rest of the way.
Yep, indeed. And one of those, 2 of those dome matchups are against the Minnesota Vikings, and Ty Chandler was an absolute monster on Saturday, particularly after DJ Reader went out for the Bengals. Their run defense just had no prayer whatsoever until they went away from Ty Chandler on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 and sneaked Nick Mullins instead twice unsuccessfully to lose the game and potentially end their season. But Ty Chandler just looked so much more explosive than Alexander Mattison has. I think we're a little bit biased because the Bengals' run defense is really bad and worse than the run defenses that Mattison has faced. But still, I think you can start Ty Chandler with confidence again if Mattison is out.
Week 15 of last season, that was the last time somebody had more fantasy points as a Vikings running back than Ty Chandler had this past weekend as well. To your point, he looked the part, right? He looked really good. I don't know how they go back to Alexander Mattison. Alexander Mattison, we've been talking for a while. He doesn't look great. It's one of the reasons why we thought there might be something with Cam Akers, because we thought he might be able to sneak in. It doesn't feel like Kevin O'Connell and staff love Alexander Mattison. So Chandler's performance certainly gives them. And by the way, what's the other option? Let Nick Mullins throw it? I know Nick Mullins wound up with a good fantasy game.
He was terrible.
He was awful.
He was horrific.
He threw up some prayers.
And got really bailed out and should have had a much worse day.
Yeah. But anyway, some of the moments that weren't horrible, they went to Jordan Addison, who was 6 for 111, 2 touchdowns, 1 remarkable cut touchdown off his shoelaces. I'm not sure Mullins should have thrown that ball.
It was a terrible throw. He catches off his shoelaces, then he runs all the way to the end zone. And the other one, Mullins throws across his body into coverage, and somehow Addison comes up with it.
Yeah, he had a little Mahomes in the brain, but I don't know about the Mac Jones in the body.
There's no way he's better than Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs is a better quarterback.
No, not even close.
I agree.
But it's
Bring back Dobby.
It's going to be the Mullins show again next week, though.
Another weekend warrior, Barry. Rasheed Rice catches all 9 of his targets, 91 yards and a touchdown. This is the receiver from the Chiefs offense right now.
Finally, it finally happens. 100% route participation, 92% snap rate. It's finally all happening for Rasheed Rice. It's his 4th straight game with 7 or more receptions. He scored in 3 of those 4 games as well. 30% target share over that stretch. Over the last 4 weeks, he's averaging over 20 fantasy points per game. We talked about Rashee Rice was going to be a thing this year. Is officially a thing. You see Clyde Edwards-Helaire on your screen right there as well. It was not a particularly efficient day. He caught basically one big pass, and then the touchdown pass he caught was sort of ridiculous. Like Mahomes sort of threw it up there and he came down with it. But still, a productive fantasy day for CEH as Isaiah Pacheco missed another game. We'll see if Pacheco is back this week. He may not be, and which means CEH, once again, might be a viable flex play, low-end wide running back too. We talked about him on Fantasy Football pregame.
Yep. And then Jay, Noah Brown with a big day, 8 of 11, catches 8 of 11 passes, 82 yards, and a touchdown for Noah Brown.
Yep, and we talked about this all through the week that someone had to emerge on the Texans offense just because there are no guys left with Nico Collins and Tank Dell out, and Noah Brown's the most talented guy in that receiving core left, and he seemed to have a connection with Case Keenum, and I think that going forward, if Nico Collins is out again, he's going to be in line for monster days with CJ Stroud presumably back.
Matthew, our last weekend warrior, David Njoku, we said it, right behind Sam Laporta on the tight end finishes, catches 10 passes, 104 yards, and a touchdown. He's on some kind of run right now.
Yeah, and there's a real connection between him and Joe Flacco as well. He now has back-to-back games with 25 or more fantasy points since week 5. He's the 5th best tight end in fantasy football, and so Njoku, who gets the Texans next week, and then the Jets, which is actually a pretty good matchup for tight ends because they're so strong on the corners. Njoku and Flacco, like, that's a thing. It really is. Good to see.
Let's get into Sunday scaries, and it doesn't get much more scarier than this when you start with Derrick Henry. Matthew, there's a stat on Derrick Henry that's never been accomplished before that just blows my mind.
He's the first player ever. This is King Henry we're talking about. The first player ever in NFL history to have 20 touches in an NFL game and less than 15 yards.
When I heard that, it's mind-blowing.
I was just like, wait, he accomplished that and Arthur Smith wasn't his coordinator? This is crazy. This was a bad day at the office, especially given the fact that coming into this game, he'd had 5 straight 100-yard games against the Texans. Maybe the Houston defense had heard all of that. Just, like, again, Henry's sort of gotten you there on touchdowns, but he hasn't. We've talked about this.
It's got the turning circle of a truck right now.
Yeah, Tajay Spears looks like the better running back, the more explosive running back on that team. I know Henry's the legend, but after the game, he was talking about it. It feels like this is the last time we see him in a Titans uniform this year.
I suspect so. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the last time we see Bijan Robinson in a Falcons uniform, as he will be remaining with Arthur Smith the remainder of the season. But he went 7 carries for 11 yards, did absolutely nothing in a game that probably cost the Falcons their season.
Good.
Honestly, he lost the fumble. He had 1 reception for 3 yards. And in what should have been a pristine matchup against the Panthers' run defense, able to do absolutely nothing.
He had 14 yards on 8 touches. Those are both season lows, and that doesn't include, of course, the migraine game. But other than that, like 14 yards on 18 touches. So only 23% of the team's rushing attempts. He played under 60% of the snaps. It was insane. Hey, Steven, did you get that tweet I sent you? Please throw that up here. This is my friend Ben Gretsch. This is great. At Yards Per Gretsch. Reported last week that Arthur Smith's job is safe, barring a late season collapse. Falcons players knew the assignment.
God.
Absolutely.
It's looking grim right now in Atlanta. Again.
He should not. It's malpractice.
Yeah.
It's him and Ron Rivera. It's malpractice is what Arthur Smith is doing.
Yep, 100%.
They're going to hire a new coach, and we're all going to talk ourselves into Kyle Pitts next summer.
Hey, anyone would be better. Again, I've said this a million times. It's either a massive failure in the drafting process or a massive failure in coaching.
They need a new quarterback.
Well, but still, you're on the road at Carolina. You know your quarterback isn't any good.
Yeah.
Feed it to your best player. Like, this isn't a fantasy thing. It's an NFL thing. Arthur Smith drives me crazy. He deserves what he got. I'm glad for the Panthers. Go Panthers. Keep pounding.
Taking our last break. Yep, keep pounding. Last call when we're back. Best bets for Monday Night Football. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.